On a Monday, guys, we are Happy Monday. We are joined by two of the smartest doctors on the planet when it comes to pets and pet health. And so we are just so honored to have you guys here with us today to reveal some really exciting news.
Really exciting news for all of us that love our cats and healthy cats. I want cats to be healthy. You know what I mean. So many of you guys already know and love Dr. Katie Woodley, who is here with us, that will be discussing some very exciting results that we have. But I'm not sure how many of you guys know the beautiful Dr. Betsy Redmond. Sorry. Brilliant. So I wanted to take just a couple minutes and do quick introductions. And Dr. Betsy Redmond, we will start with you, my dear.
Okay. Yeah. I'm Betsy. I have a master's and a PhD in nutrition, and I worked for the last 15 or 20 years in a laboratory. And so I was part of the team that did the first to consumer microbiome test to people. So I've worked in labs for a long time, and then the last 3 years or so, I have some pets that are older, and we wanted to test our pets, and we're like, why can't we do these? It was a functional medicine lab, so we did a lot of tests that really help direct diet and treatments. And can we test our pets? The problem is there's no reference range. You can't just go to Quest and do a test on a dog or a cat because the reference range aren't going to be the same. So we occasionally would throw one in, but you really need to set the reference range. So we got together with all our other pet-loving coworkers, and we started a lab, so innovative pet lab. So it's for pets, and we try to do, we do functional markers.
I love it. I love all these years of experience and practice using those powers to help proactive pet parents. This is just so exciting. Dr. Woodley, a little intro from you as well, please.
Yeah, so thanks for having me. I'm Dr. Katie Woodley, the natural pet doctor. I'm a holistic integrative veterinarian, and I have a big passion for gut health because I found this different way of medicine because my husband was diagnosed with an autoimmune gut disease years ago. So I am so excited that we have amazing companies like Innovative Pet Lab coming onto the market and giving us these tests that now we can dive deeper and understand why are certain things off and how we can actually track what we're recommending to make sure it's truly working for our pets and resolving inflammation and healing gut health. So I'm really, really excited to be here and to be a part of this exciting time. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And what is so exciting to us and to all of you guys that are watching right now is that this kind of testing and lots of different testing, right? But testing is has been around in the dog world for a while. And the focus when it comes to cats and being able to whatever test, even allergy test, like it's hard to find that kind of testing, this kind of testing when it comes to cats. And today we are announcing the Innovative Pet Lab is has launched now, the healthy gut testing for cats. For cats specifically, guys. And we were honored and lucky enough to be a part of this testing. And so we're going to talk to you guys a little bit about that, but we do have some good news.
Yes, this is super exciting. And I do want to tell you guys a little bit about what's so amazing about this is it's at home testing, essentially.
Yes.
We collect some samples, which I want to get into because you guys know right? Yes. But starting today, you guys, this is a super awesome, generous announcement because not only is this launching today, but there is a 40% discount. 40% discount.
Look at that. You guys
Tests using that coupon code CATSLIVE40. And this is really amazing. This is a special promo just for us in this beautiful cat community. And this is going to be going through Black Friday. So, and this, if you guys know anything about these testing, this is a huge discount. This is literally a once in a lifetime opportunity. So what's so exciting though, is that we're going to kind of talk through why this is amazing, kind of how it works. Dr. Redmond will kind of cover what these tests are, how they work. Dr. Katie is going to help walk through some of the results that will kind of show us why this is so important for our cats and how empowering this really is for us cat parents. And I want to say briefly, you guys know that we're prime time, so I don't know if I can actually say my shirt out loud.
Touch it crazy.
Yes. The poop is important, you guys. And we have some super poopers in our family. We were able to get samples from all of our cats it's super simple, you guys. You're at home, you take a poop sample, you put it in a tube, you mail it back to Innovative Pet Lab.
Yes. No vet visit required,
Yeah.
which for those of us like cat parents, we know that like that's like the stressful part, right? Is getting our cats into the vet for testing, for so many different things. But taking them into the vet is the difficult part. And this is what I love about the at-home testing is that your cats don't even know that they're getting tested.
No. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And it's simple. So Dr. Redmond, let's start with you and just really talk about what these tests are and how they work.
Okay. Yeah. And I will say logistically, we've already had some questions with cats on how do you get samples if you have 3 or 4 cats? How do you identify?
Or 6.
Or 6, like us.
So yeah, we'll have to go over that next because that's a question people had. So we're having 2 separate tests that we're giving out. So we're giving out the inflammation and immunity, and that's going to look for inflammation in the gut, which can be related to a lot of things because within the gut, 70% of the immune system isn't within the gut. So we're looking specifically at a marker called calprotectin. So it looks at neutrophil, which is a part of your immune system, infiltration in the gut lining. And like you said, there's a lot of research on calprotectin. Well, certainly in people and in dogs, there's more. And now there's just a lot more coming in. There was a big study in August of cats. So we felt it was a good time to introduce that. And it really lets you see what's going on. In people, they really like it because, and it works for the same in cat and dogs. You can see if there's inflammation within the gut, and instead of having to do a scope, like you don't want to do a scope every single time you're going to go in there. I mean, Dr. Katie can talk about that, how stressful it is, and the cough, things you have to worry about. But so it can tell you, is there inflammation, and do you need to jump in there and do something, or are things okay? So the calprotectin will let you see, is there inflammation, and then what that level of inflammation is, like how aggressive do you need to be, and you can follow it in treatment. So it should come down with treatment. And then the other thing in that inflammation and immunity is secretory IgA. So secretory IgA is the first line of defense within the gut lining. So when cats eat stuff, or any mammals eating something, it goes through and it gets digested, and it just goes through, and not everything gets to come in through the intestine. So secretory IgA is one of those things in the immune system that's just checking on how are things going. So the inflammation and immunity profile looks at calprotectin and then secretory IgA. So you can see that level of inflammation and immune activity. And then the other test that we're looking at is leaky gut. It's also referred to as intestinal permeability. So, we look at zonulin and antigliadin. So zonulin is a marker that I'll do Katie's. So graphic. So your intestinal cells should be tightly together. So if they're like, your intestinal cells are like this, they're usually probably the same length. So they stay tight together. So this is like where your poop is up here, and it can't, like, things within your poop can't just, jump into your blood system. It can't just go through. So it has to stay tight. And so sometimes it can go like right through the cell, and sometimes it goes between. So if you have certain conditions or inflammation, the cells are not as tight and they kind of separate. And when they separate, zonulin is one of the markers that can come out, ends up in the stool. And so the level of it can identify how much how much intestinal permeability and how wide those are. So if you have all your intestinal cells that are wide, things are just coming in you don't want in. And then you're going to be having immune reaction to those things that are coming in. One of the things that we tend to react to that is associated with zonulin certainly is gluten. So a lot of things can cause the intestinal permeability. Smoking, cats aren't smoking, but if you're in a household where there's secondhand smoke, that can cause it. A poor diet, but gluten's one of those things that it can lead to increased intestinal permeability, and it's also associated with. So it'll come through maybe when you have leaky gut and you didn't expect it to. So we look at the level, like the cat's level of response to gluten and their level of leaky gut. So those two are together. So we look at inflammation and immune, and then leaky gut or intestinal permeability.
And these tests can be helpful. I'm excited to see our baby's results. But these tests can be helpful even if you have a seemingly healthy cat, right? So this can let us know if you've got some of those levels kind of creeping up, where you can start kind of mitigating things, whether that's through nutrition.
Right. Some of it's just, you're going to check and see, like, what is it? I think that everything's going great, but, certain things may happen, or, they might be exposed to things that they just, your immune system has to fight something off. And sometimes it's simple, and you can just like hold tight and just, maybe wait and retest if there's a thing, or get in there and get aggressive with it. But it is a way to see, like, I think I'm doing everything right. Am I? And you can kind of see.
Yeah, that's a great proactive way. But then a lot of cat parents deal with, their cats that have runny stools all the time, or, just upset tummy, or super, like, a lot of gas and things like that. And in those cases, I think this would be even, really ideal, right? Because it's going to, what other symptoms, Dr. Katie, what other symptoms would you suggest if cat parents are interested in possibly, testing their cats? What do you think, would be a good reason to do it, other than proactive, of course?
Yeah, I love the proactive, because I always talk about, and probably, cat parents here have heard me talk about the spectrum of disease, right? We're always like constantly moving either towards like inflammation, disease, or towards health. And so we're on this spectrum, and we're not always potentially seeing symptoms show up. So that's why I really love having these functional medicine tests, where we can identify where is the level of inflammation, or where are things off in the body, so we can take action before we develop a disease, or, we fall, I always say, where we fall off the cliff and have to climb back up. And so this goes not only for just like GI symptoms, because yes, of course, if we have diarrhea, if we have issues there, we're going to look to the gut. But because 70 to 80% of that immune system lives in the gut, and because of the gut-brain axis, if your cat has behavior changes, is dealing with a chronic health condition, is on medications, if they're dealing with allergies, these can all be related to a gut health issue. And this test would be so ideal to identify where things are off, so you can tweak and fine tune, and then monitor how well the treatment you're using is actually working, rather than just guessing, right? We hope the supplements we're using are working, but now we know, so you don't have to keep throwing like money at certain supplements. If it's not working, you can adjust and change the treatment plan. So that's how I would look at this. If there is a health condition with your cat, definitely do this test, get a good baseline. If your cat is on any chronic medications for diseases, definitely, because that can lead to things like leaky gut and disrupt, what's going on in that microbiome. And this test can show us where inflammation and specific markers are too.
Wow,
That's so exciting.
That's
And
amazing.
I know I'm getting a little sidetracked by, I'm seeing some comments come in here from Christy and Teresa. Hello to you both. Dr. Redmond, can you talk about IBD a little bit? I mean, I think that's something we're seeing so much more of in the cat world.
Yeah.
And like Christy is dealing with right now, talking about how this is so key to helping finding out what's going on and what's needed for people that are dealing, like what Jay was saying, when you're dealing with those things that, and maybe you've already got the diagnosis. Talk a little bit about, how this test works to help us identify how to.
Right. Well, I think it helps with severity. So if you've already gotten a diagnosis, it can really help you with severity. So if everything's out of range, you got a lot to work with. If it's just one thing, you're doing the right things and you can kind of target on that. But it can, help with severity and how aggressive you need to be. If your calprotectin's a little bit elevated, likely you just need to change your pet food or give some supportive supplements. But if it's, 5 times the reference range, then it's pretty severe and you need to, make sure your vet's involved and get a little more aggressive with it. But so it'll help kind of target not really how worried you used to be, but how aggressive you need to be in your treatment, or if, just changing diet and getting some support is going to be enough.
I love that.
Okay, so if we can jump to what I'm so excited about the most, and that is that we had our cats tested with Innovative Pet Lab, and we have the results, and they are here today with us. And so we are going to go. We want to bring them up and see what it means, right? Because we're just like you guys. We're just like.
Well, let's talk through a little bit too. I know we kind of hit on it, the taking of the sample, and for those of us, this non-invasive, very super easy way of doing this. And I know when it comes to multiple cats, you can feel like that's, how am I ever going to get the right poop in the right sample jar?
Well, tell them how you did it.
I'm actually crazy. So I really, just a little bit of patience. We're not trying to get to a certain appointment on time. If we know that we need to get Jack's sample in, I pay attention to your cat's schedule a little bit. Our kiddos like to go to the bathroom usually within about 3 or 4 hours of breakfast. So I make it a point to make sure I'm kind of by the litter box. And if I hear someone in there, then I go and, I can sometimes grab them with the scoop. They don't even touch the litter, just grab them. But it makes it, when you catch them, I mean, I don't think it needs to be a stressful thing. And I'm surprised that none of the cats were awkward at all, that I was just standing there waiting for them to do their business.
Not for you, because they're used to it.
It was super simple. The kit that you guys make is all very straightforward. It is as simple as grab a glove, grab the
fork,
or the wooden stick.
Oh yeah.
Right. And just have a place kind of ready. What I did was I just set up a spot near the majority of our litter boxes so that I was ready for a sample, could very quickly at a place to put the sample until I had everything out and ready. Literally, I would say 2.5 minutes to done in the bag, ready to mail. Really super easy, non-stressful, and a great way to, like you guys were saying, to kind of get a baseline and figure out where we're at and what needs to go on. But I did see another question in here from Christy. Do you guys ship across the border to Canada?
We are working on that. So I don't think we do just yet, but it is our goal. So unless I get corrected by our salespeople. But it's my phone. That's not right.
Stop talking.
So yeah, and I will say, some of the problems, like when we get the kits, is people don't remember to register it. So you have to register the kit when you first get it, so we know it's your kit.
That's the other part. I would say as soon as you know that you're doing this, go ahead and register your pet. Just go super easy. You put in the name, the age, the information. So that's already there. And then you add the kit, and it's got the little number on it. So you never confuse who's who. It's super simple and easy. Yep. I thought that the user ease of it all was really, it's, you think testing and science and big words that you guys just makes it kind of intimidating. Like, am I going to mess this up? Am I doing this right? Really straightforward, really easy. It's as simple as putting your cat's name, age, gender basic information in, and then when that moment comes that it's time to catch that sample, you already have your cat there, and you add the kit with the right number.
Yep.
Put it in the bag and mail it out.
Yep. And link is in the description here.
Yeah.
Both on Facebook and YouTube. If anybody wants to go ahead and get that process started or purchase.
Yeah. And I'll say you can just put it in your mailbox. You don't have to go to FedEx or anything like that. Just put it in your mailbox.
Yeah,
So
you can have litter on it too. So, because I know
right.
I see a couple questions there, which is a huge concern with most cat parents, right? Do we have to sit there and remove all the litter off the poo? You don't. So don't worry. If you're not as like slick as Adrian with that scooper, you can just put the stool into the little bottle that they give you. So you don't have to do anything special.
And then timeline for results generally. Or the test
14 days is our turnaround time. We're always trying to get that down. So.
I love it. That is fantastic. Okay, so now shall we jump into the results a bit?
Yeah,
let's look at. I know you have some different tests, right? Because most of you guys know that we feed our cats a raw food diet. They also already get supplements on a regular basis, and then Katie has some more processed food. Or the other results are also.
They're dry fed, so they're kibble diets.
Dry fed. Right. So then we can kind of do a little bit of a comparison, I guess, too. Maybe, I don't know, but I'm just really.
I think it shows you like your cats have a few tweaks, but overall looked good. But then we also got samples from cats who were in shelters to see, and
I love that.
We got stress and dry food and shelters impacting gut health.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Okay.
Good question from Trisha before we jump into the results. What if the stools are runny / diarrhea? Can you still test?
You can. I mean, firmer is better. So I don't, you don't want them too runny because that can just dilute things. So
I was gonna say that would be, Trisha, I gotta say, I don't know if I would use a ladle for that.
Yeah.
How do we get that sample?
Probably as long as you have enough of this stool, it'd probably be okay. I imagine, right? Like,
yeah.
It's just if it's like a little bit of liquid, it probably wouldn't be enough to get good results.
Yeah.
Test the markers. Okay, so shall we try this?
Let's try it. This is our first time sharing screens, guys. So
now, do we want to
bear
do this
with
one?
us?
Can everyone see that?
These are our cat's results. So where is the screen? Like on your computer? Where is it?
That's a great question.
There you go.
Okay.
So if you can, so you went through all. I know there are a bunch of big words, but if we could kind of just talk a little bit about what this means.
Yeah. So this is just a spreadsheet, and certainly your results when you go online are going to be easier than this. So this, you're not going to get a spreadsheet. You're going to get really nice results that tell you this is your level. This is what low, high is. And so if it's in red, it's a concern. If it's in green, it's not. And then it'll tell you things you can do if it's low or high.
Yeah. So I want to say real quick that I really love you guys' website. I love to be. The reason we put it into a spreadsheet here is so that you guys can see all of the different cats, but they do come, you have like your pet's profile, and then you get all the results on each one. And I really love it. It's very easy to use. And
yeah, and you can print them too. So if you want to take it to your vet, if you had, what looked like the shelter cats, and you want to print it and take it to your vet, you could have those. I will say, so these are just in alphabetical order. It has anti-gliadin. It has beta-glucuronidase, which is just a test. So we're not including in cats at this point. It just got included so that we can kind of test it. And then the calprotectant, secretory IgA, and the zonulin. So it gets thrown in alphabetical order. But so we can kind of just go through. So your first cat, why don't you give us? Yeah.
So this is Zorro, and he's all green.
He's a black cat, but he is.
Yeah, Zorro is our 4.5-year-old. And he is what we call our purist. So like anytime we've tried to like give him treats of like a great wet food or something like that, he's like, no, he will only eat raw. He is like, he's anybody else, we might have to like entice them, but he's from the beginning, he will not eat anything
even
processed.
Food choppers, he won't touch churros. He'll only take freeze-dried raw food
Yep.
toppers. I mean, he's our purist.
He's our purist. Yeah.
Yeah, and it shows. Like, he doesn't have any gluten reaction. I mean, that's going to be two things. He's likely not getting gluten, and he doesn't have any leaky gut issues.
And that's wonderful. Now, this one was the next one was the one that we were very surprised about, because Pooh Bear is he's our troubled child, if you will. He's a 20-pound orange tabby, and he has an autoimmune disease. And so he's been, I mean, they all eat the same diet, but he has been, I mean, just in and out, so many different issues over the years. And so to see that he is also all green was we were really excited about that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it tells you you're on the right track. And, if he had different owners who just gave kibble and, might have stress lice, he probably would have a worse kind of outcome. I mean, I think Dr. Katie can speak more to that, but I think, it's partly genetics, but then partly their lived life. And
yeah, I definitely think, and when we bring up the next results after this, you'll see, I think kibble and processed food plays a huge part, especially for our obligate carnivore. So 100% the diet is helping tremendously. And two, just because I think the other thing to keep in mind, we're looking at gut health functional markers. So, as they said, like Pooh Bear, he has some autoimmune stuff. And so this is really good that they have the gut dialed in based on these markers. And there can still be other factors. And so that's why it's really important to always look at the full picture too. But these tests can help us identify. We don't need to add in tons of supplements that are going to support the gut health. So that's going to help save them trying to get more supplements into Pooh Bear, So I think that's a great way to look at this too, when we have all green and we do have a health condition.
Well, and I love that too, just the ease of the test, and then just how proactive it is as far as really finding out. It streamlines so many decisions that we have to make as pet parents, I think. Oliver Twist.
And Oliver Twist is
what's going on here?
Yeah, this is our 18-year-old. Oliver
okay.
Twist, and it looks like he is borderline something.
What does it all mean?
Yeah, so we're going to disregard that beta-glucuronidase. His calprotectin is fine and is anti-gluten, so he's obviously not getting gluten. His calprotectin is, not elevated, so that's good. So that's probably, one of the first markers, that I would look at. So secretory IgA, that's up, and it's not uncommon when we see. So that's the first line of defense at the immune lining, and we also see increased zonulin. So there's a little bit of leaky gut. So those are probably playing together. And, I think, I would just look for maybe some gut bacterial support. Does he get probiotics, or you try Saccharomyces boulardii, or Katie probably has some.
Yeah, he does get it, but now we're going to be switching up some new probiotics with him, and we're going to kind of increase, because it's just been everybody gets probiotics every day. So we just add, a little bit to the entire dish, not just specifically focusing on him. He also has a kidney disease. He's in first stages of kidney failure. And so we've been focusing on his kidneys. And this is great, because we haven't really thought much about focusing on his gut, because we're focusing on the kidneys. So this is super helpful for tweaking things moving forward too.
Yeah. The other thing I would be thinking about too, when we have the elevated secretory IgA, is looking for food sensitivities also. So there's other tests that, I recommend for pet parents, like NutriScan, which is a saliva test that you can do, or if you wanted to go the route of just trying a novel protein. So protein they've never been exposed to see if that helps. And then what you could do is you could retest and see, is that aggravating and contributing somewhat to this elevated IgA and leaky gut potentially. So those would be some of the other thoughts that you could look at.
Oh, I like that.
Sweet.
Yeah.
They get a ton of different proteins.
I know you're going to have a hard time finding a novel protein, because you really so many different proteins.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to go with like have you used alligator?
Yes.
You did. See, okay.
Camel.
You used camel. That was no go. So
kangaroo, all
I
of
don't even know.
Yeah.
goat.
What?
Goat.
I don't think we have had goat yet.
There you go. Goat. You can try goat.
Oh, little baby goats.
You know, I got them
no.
on a side note. We got them some the goat's whip, the raw goat milk whip for Thanksgiving.
For their Thanksgiving treat.
They're going to be excited.
But
But I think also that's not as bad as some of those shelter cats. So for an 18-year-old cat with kidney issues, I think that also looks pretty good. I mean, you can always, tweak things, but.
Well, what I think too is interesting at looking at, our 4 youngest ones, Friday, Zorro, Jack, and Madison, have never had a processed diet. Oliver Twist is our cat that was on kibble for the longest.
Yeah.
So I also think, he's been on a raw food diet now for 6 years.
But prior to that, 12 years, he was eating a kibble diet. So,
So briefly too, one of the other things for like indoor outdoor cats to think about, I was just looking at what's coming up with one of the cats that has a really elevated one that we'll be talking about, looking at pathogens, parasites. And this is where there's a lot of functional testing coming out too, where we can couple the results that we get to see, do we have an elevated E. coli or Clostridial level? Indoor outdoor cats, do we have GI parasites? So making sure we're not missing something, some aggravant that's causing that irritation in the immune system to over-respond to.
Oh, yeah.
That is a good point.
That is a good point. Okay, so what's going on with our girl Friday?
What's our Friday girl doing?
Friday, yeah, it looks like, so how is she? How old is she?
She's Zorro's twin sister. So they're both 4.5, both little Black Panthers.
Yep.
Same diet.
Yep, same diet. She was, and sometimes still has a little bit of a struggle with like a pica type thing where she likes to eat, like chew on plastic. And if she finds any plastic anywhere, she'll chew on it and sometimes consume it.
Like fake Christmas tree needles and stuff like that.
Yeah, Christmas tree needles she likes. Yeah. But that's really the only, as far as diet, she's a great eater. She's a great pooper. She is
a super pooper.
She's a super pooper. She has a fantastic personality.
It's fun to be around.
She's fun to be around. Really, really good looking.
Well, she's got your full support. No inflammation, there's no zonulin. So those look good. Low anti-gliadin response and really no secretory IgA. So sometimes that's just a concern that it's low. That is it low because it's been taxed for a while? Like is, more chronic? Is that a concern? A lot of times that's also where we think of Saccharomyces boulardii to just try to build it up. Try to help to build those things up. I'm really would be less concerned with the zonulin and the Calpro also doing so great. But I would think of like a Saccharomyces boulardii and maybe, switching up probiotics. I know, in the people world, they do that all the time. If a probiotic's not really working, kind of switch it up because there are just hundreds of bacteria.
Right.
Yeah. Other supplements you can use to support that would be things like colostrum or beta glucans, like mushrooms. So even for cats, like cats will eat mushrooms. It's a umami flavor. So you can get some like shiitake and, lightly saute it in some ghee or grass-fed butter and chop it up and use it as a fresh food topper.
Jay would eat those mushrooms before Friday.
Yeah. We'll cook some up for the kitties when I visit. So
okay. What's interesting about Friday though is she is the one that's always been attracted to like vegetables. She is like just yesterday we were doing a Friendsgiving. We're chopping up cauliflower
and half the stock is in the sink waiting to go down the disposal.
And she jumps up and she grabs it. If we're cutting up spinach, she always needs to get a piece. She like self-selects green vegetables quite broccoli, quite a bit. She likes that. So that's also interesting for her. All right. So then Madison Grace is also a healthy little chick. That's awesome.
Super green. Anything stick out for you guys with little Maddie girl here? Maddie's
yes, y'all have a little bitty computer. That's why I keep getting closer.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, I can see it. I have to get close to it. No, I mean, everything looks low, looks good. So, in the green is good.
Okay.
And you had said when you sign on to the test and you answer questions, we are collecting, information about cats, their food, their, are they neutered, all this kind of stuff. And we'll, once we get a lot of data, we can also share that with people. Like, this is what we find. And so, no, she looks good. And then Jack.
Jack William, he's Madison's brother, also 2.5. And yeah, I mean, he's fantastic. He's a comedian, but so he also has the high
secretory IgA. Yeah. So, I mean, that's like the same kind of things, you can think of food like parasites, pathogens, food, and then just support. So we don't know what else is going on in there, but it doesn't look like it's terrible because other things are good, but you don't like, is he reacting to something that's coming through, or that's more long-term, and just probably want to provide some support for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is all good. This is good news. So basically we want to add in, we want to switch up probiotics a bit, right? So, so that would be like our takeaway.
And what is the big long word that you keep saying? Mushrooms. No, not the mushrooms. The
Saccharomyces boulardii.
Oh, Saccharomyces. It's a beneficial yeast probiotic.
Yeah.
So not all yeast is bad. We do need some yeast. So Saccharomyces boulardii is a product you can use. The human, there's a Jarrow brand that's really good. That also comes with MOS, which is a prebiotic. A lot of cats, traditional cat size, like, obviously talk to your veterinarian. Usually you're doing like a half of a capsule per day for a normal cat size. And once again, rotation is, key, and then retesting too, because we shouldn't just like diet, we shouldn't just keep them on the same supplements and food all the time, because that can create imbalances also.
Right. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Perfect.
Now let's see if we can be super suave with the
yeah, with the low secretory IG, you're going to want to retest, see if you brought it up. With high, it may just, if whatever they were reacting to, it could go down. But yeah, I was going to add 40% off. You could always go ahead and get your
follow-up
second test right now.
Yes. Right, especially for multiple cats. I think that's a brilliant point, is for multiple cats, or if you know that you've got a cat that's got a gut issue already, to be able to test. And then it is that retesting that really helps us know if what we're, like Dr. Katie said, if what we're doing is helping. So yeah, you guys, I'm serious though. These tests are so fantastic. The fact that there's a 40% off coupon
is huge
for us right now is huge. So
it's like Black Friday before Black Friday.
Yeah, be thinking of that.
And keep in mind too, when you go to the Innovative Pet Lab link, it's for those two tests. It's not the comprehensive or the digestion detox. It's the inflammation, immune, and the leaky gut. So that's where the code works. So just FYI.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Katie.
And it's just for this audience. I was going to post something on my feed stuff, and they're like, well, you don't get that. So
only
I got a 25%.
That's amazing.
Is this the other one? Is it this one?
Yes.
That's it. Okay.
Okay. So now let's pull up
Dr. Katie.
There we go.
See this?
Yeah.
These are the shelter cats.
Okay. So these.
So talk us through. We'll move it as you.
Yeah, I'll have Betsy go through it just like what we did, and then I'll give my piece about how we can help these kitties.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's harder when you get a lot of things. I mean, I guess you can start all from scratch kind of thing and less tweaking. So this cat has leaky gut, has it's low secretory IgA, and that kind of telling me the calprotectant is fine. But with the secretory IgA and the leaky gut and the gluten, so it looks like they're getting gluten. So just pulling out gluten could go a long way. So that secretory IgA could be a response to the fact that, it's an immune reaction. So it's an IgA immune reaction. So it's part of that. So if you have leaky gut, that gluten's going to exacerbate it. So it's going to just get leakier if you keep getting it. And that's going to be a tax on your immune system. So the fact that it's low makes me feel like it's been going on for a while, which probably this cat's been on kibble for a long time.
Right.
All 2 years, probably.
Yeah. So, how would you start with a cat like this?
Well, for one, and this is where I find it so fascinating too, you'll notice that anti-gliadin IgA is elevated on, I think, all of them or most of them, for the most part, with kibble diets, for the most part. And so, of course, we need to remove that because it's silly. If we're going to use supplements and spend money on supplements, if we're still feeding the same food that's creating the issue and causing the immune system to overreact and create inflammation, we need to remove that. So that's where transitioning to a less processed diet, removing that gluten, transitioning to freeze-dried, raw, lightly cooked. There's so many great options now for cats where you don't have to do that on your own. A lot of us use pre-made options for our own cats. Number one, that has to happen, or do your best to try to get them away from it. Number two, I'm a big fan of helping the body heal as quickly as possible. And so this is where I'd be using GI support. So using things like digestive enzymes, using probiotics, using things that are going to help soothe the gut lining and calm things down. So things like deglycerized licorice, aloe, slippery elm. There's a lot of great products out there that combine these different nutraceuticals together to help calm things down and get that body back into get that gut back into balance. So that's how I would approach, some of these kitties.
Yeah, that probably seems like for a lot, like most of these,
they're very similar.
Yeah, they do have anti-gliadin. This doesn't have calprotectant yet, so calprotectant's going to me be a little more serious when it starts to become elevated. So there's a lot of research where they look at calprotectant and then they go in and look at the gut lining, so they know that it correlates. And so they're
does calprotectant not have as much to do with diet specifically? Because it seems in the top three, at least, of kibble fed cats, it seems like the beta glucan and the calprotectant.
Well, we don't care about
nor the beta one.
Beta's the one that
so
no cats, just dogs.
So the calprotectant seems okay for all of the dry fed cats.
Yeah, well, I think it's like, okay, it said it's a spectrum, so they maybe haven't gone that far, so there's not inflammation that we're getting in the gut. It doesn't mean that there isn't still immune stress or there isn't still immune reaction. Okay. It's the gluten itself, may cause issues, but having to make those antibodies all the time and deal with that is just a drain on the immune system. So, so once it starts to go on a little longer, you will see calprotectant come up, and that can be more serious.
One of the things, too, to keep in mind is we don't have the symptoms of these cats. So do they have bloody diarrhea, or what are the symptoms that we're seeing, too, that can indicate, more inflammation in the body? So it'd be interesting to see if these cats that have elevated calprotectin would have, blood in their stool or diarrhea, and kind of see what's going on there also. So, we're kind of guessing. All we have is, age, and they're, in the shelter and they're on a dry food diet. We don't have any other real information for these cats.
Right.
Sure. Yeah. I will say a lot of these test markers that we're looking at, and someone's asking about cats or dog. If you go to get it, you just click on the test, so inflammation and immune, and when you get there, you'll see that it's a cat or a dog once you get to the test. So there's not, when you first sign in, cat tests and dog tests. But just stress in general, too. There's good research looking at that. Just a stressful life.
What's interesting too, their zonulin is elevated in these cats with stress and leaky gut, the connection there too, with increased permeability. And
Yeah.
so it's, you've got a combination of food, you've got a combination of stress. They're probably also getting, they're more prone to upper respiratory issues. They're getting vaccinated quite frequently. They might be on antibiotics also. So all these factors can come into play to show like where these numbers are definitely much more severe than Jay and Adrian's cats.
Yeah, poor babies. Look at this 1119. The
4-year-old domestic.
Yeah. So, and some of these cats were, they just found them, and some of them were turned over, like people had to give up their pets. So some of them might have had better care than others. So it may be that this little 4-year-old was having pretty good care, and now it's just kind of starting. And since, secretory IgA might be something you see first, it might be it's the first line of defense in the gut lining. So it may be they're just starting. Maybe they just got there, they just started them on kibble, and so they're just seeing that early reaction.
Right.
Oh.
Would you think, Dr. Redmond, with like the IgA being that high on that test, if this cat had something like Giardia or a parasite, would that elevate?
Yeah. So okay. It's food, it's parasite pathogens. They're shelter cats, so they could have those.
Wow. So it's amazing to see the difference between kibble-fed cats that are in stressful lifestyles right now, and the results of well-loved and cared for kitties at home. That's amazing.
Yeah, and this one with the calprotectant, that's
wow.
So the calprotectant side, so there's real inflammation. I mean, in people, calprotectant is used. One of its things, it can help in differentiating, and it's not like one test one time is not going to do it, but it helps to differentiate IBS from IBD. So inflammatory bowel disease from irritable bowel syndrome. So the inflammatory bowel disease is serious, and it's related to a lot of health consequences. So having an elevated calprotectant can be a problem, and really identify that things are going to be a problem. And you can see that their secretory IgA is low. So
wow,
antigliadin super high.
So when and again, I wanted to let people know again. Should I stop this share? Or we miss anything on here?
No, we didn't miss anything.
Are we good?
I think it was good comparison on well cared for and in transition. I don't want to say they're poorly.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you can fix these kitties and you can help them, but I hope people see how much easier it is to see, like, when we have these test results rather than guessing. So say you have this cat coming from the shelter and they're not showing a symptom, but they have, this elevated calprotectin and their IgA is low, and we're assuming that they are fine, and we just wait and we keep them on the same diet because we think that it's okay, because we just don't know. And this is where this test is so powerful. Like, I wish I had this for my 2 cats that passed away from aggressive GI lymphoma. It would have been so interesting to see what their levels would have been years and years ago. And so we did this with I don't know if you saw her, my rescued senior kitty who was up here, Kiwi, a while back. And she's our more sensitive cat. And I was lucky enough to be able to do this test, and it came back normal. So I was like, great. That makes me feel better that what we're doing is working for her, rather than just assuming. Because I see that so many times where they're fine. Bam, they're not fine. They have kidney disease, they have cancer, they have, all of a sudden IBD that forms. And it's not just a bam, it's a progression.
Right.
That's not, that's something that a lot of people don't realize, and even doctors don't realize. The body doesn't just decide to break one day. So now we have tests to help identify that. So important. I've never had tests like these before. And so I hope people really see the importance of this and the power of this to really, really help our cats, and to dial in deep and know why and what we're using, and if it's helping them.
Yeah.
I think it's so, to your point, trying to find the root of an issue. I think a lot of us get caught in that cyclical symptomatic care thing, where it's like, we know this is an issue. We try something for a minute, but we're not really sure why this is happening. And I really love that this does help dial it in and streamline kind of the road to health, or a roadmap to health. I see Teresa asking here, Dr. Redmond, if you wouldn't mind sharing again which test.
Yeah, so for cats, we're going to do, and when you get on the website and click tests, there'll be, there's 4 choices. There's a comprehensive, there's inflammation and immune. And if you click on that, you'll see you can get it for dogs or cats. And that's going to be the calprotectin and the secretory IgA. And then there's leaky gut, and that's going to be zonulin and antigliadin IgA. And that is also for cats and dogs. And then there's one more, which is digestion. That's just for dogs right now. So some of these markers just don't work as well in cats as they do in dogs, or vice versa. So, so those 2 tests, so leaky gut and inflammation and immune. And I was going to add too, like with the, your cat who was on kibble for 12 years. I always think of that as like babies who were, born cesarean and had formula, as opposed to, getting vaginal birth with breast milk. That's just, it's the same thing. We're all mammals. And so that's just, helps you get a better start. People who were cesarean with, formula are in population studies associated with, more health conditions. I mean, you can mitigate that, certainly, just like you can in pets. So,
well, it's knowing though that there is an issue,
right.
You can help mitigate. Do you guys have an opinion? I know we're getting close to the end of our time, but do you guys have an opinion for people that are out there being like, oh my gosh, 40% off, special discount just for us? Which test do I get? Is there a way, or just
is it leaky gut, or is it?
Yeah.
Which one would you?
I mean, I would probably pick calprotectin, the inflammation and immune, if I had to, because that kind of, I guess it's the top or the bottom of the pyramid. But if calprotectin's off, then you kind of have to. Yeah, I would probably start with that. Although, I always say I work at a lab, so more tests is better.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And now would be a good time to get them. Dr. Katie, what's your thought?
Yeah, no, I actually agree with that. And two, the other piece to this too is a lot of cat parents here might be feeding raw or avoiding gluten. And so that anti-gliadin A will be negative if there's not a source of gluten in the cat's diet. So, and I see too, I see a lot of issues with the immune system. So secretory IgA is always really, really fascinating. And two, like Dr. Redmond said, if your calprotectin is elevated, we really need to do something. Like, we do not want to just like wait and hope that things will be fine. Like, we need to make sure that we are probably doing other diagnostics to figure out like, why is this elevated? So these tests are really good indicator. They're like a check engine light, right? Where certain areas are going wrong. And so rather than ignoring it, we need to jump on it. And then that's where being able to do other diagnostics if needed, or there's so many great supplements that we can use to heal gut lining and retest. And if that's not working, you definitely need to work with an integrated practitioner or someone that understands, how these things work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would suggest that you guys get 2 of whatever test that you choose, so that you can go back and retest and still take this 40% off special going on. So, yeah.
It really is. I mean, I think for anyone that knows how amazing it is to have something in the comfort of our own home, especially for our cats, to really get an idea of where they're at and how to make their lives even better.
Longer.
And longer. Yes. I just think it's such a gift. And I think it's a very generous discount from Innovative Pet Lab. Thank you, Dr. Redmond.
Just for you guys.
Wow. Just for us guys. And think about this. I know for me, I'm somebody that if I'm not really familiar, I'm probably going to go back and watch this live and kind of try to understand what's going on. But we've got this through Black Friday. So I think I see a lot of you guys already commenting about getting the test and retesting So yeah, stock up while you can. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's all, if you get 2 and yours is perfect, you can give the other one away as a Christmas present.
Exactly. There you go.
Brilliant.
Yes.
That is brilliant.
Absolutely.
Okay. Did we miss any questions did you guys see any questions that we missed? Because we couldn't see comments while we were or did we forget to mention anything? Final thoughts.
I thought we had
I think we hit the majority of things. I think there's always, there's a lot of different types of tests out there. So I see people asking about, BDI and some other tests. And there's pros and cons to each one, but they also give us information. Each one is giving us different pieces of information. What I really like about these tests is, for one, you can order them and you can do them at home without having to go to your vet and get approval from your vet, which is nice. So you can get a better idea of what's going on internally. Two, it's also a really good way to measure if, like, the supplements or the treatments or the drugs, if your cat is on medications, is truly working. So when you retest, if things are normal, do you really need to keep spending money on those supplements? Take a break, and see how things go. You save yourself, supplements are not cheap. I know I've got 3 cats and they're on supplements. So, I think that's something to be aware of, is that, there's a lot of different tests out there. This one is great because it can give us an idea of, where inflammation, where things are off in the gut, and we can couple it with other tests that are on the market too. So keep that in mind. It's not just one or the other. If things are off, it doesn't mean that you may not have to dive deeper, but at least something's off.
Yeah.
So that way you can dive deeper and you're not just assuming they're fine.
Absolutely. Okay. And Trisha said, did she miss it about how to get the correct poo in a multi-cat household? So Adrienne gave the idea of how she did for testing, and that's literally just paying attention to your cat and their schedule and when they go, and pick it up right after they eliminate. But Trisha said that she uses food dye to differentiate between cats. Was that something that might throw off the test at all?
We haven't tested that. I don't think that it would throw the test off. I haven't run it through. Yeah, someone had mentioned feeding their cat beets. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, if you want to give your cat food dye or not. I don't know. Katie knows the implications of that. It's like, Is
there a good organic?
Yeah,
there are more organic things that you can use if you need to do that. Because I can understand it is hard to, sometimes get stool from 6 cats, especially if you're working, too, like where you're not around all the time. Also to, wander around with them. So it's something where, if you do want to use something like that, for one, it sounds like we're not 100% certain if it will affect the test results. But 2, if you're using more natural food dyes, it's going to be based off of food. So it shouldn't affect it, right? So you shouldn't have an issue if you're using, artificial food dyes, then potentially, because it's going to create inflammation probably. Like your red food dyes are really bad. So, it's things like that you'd be thinking about, but using, if you can always go natural, that'll be better.
Okay. And one last question. We've got 2 minutes left. Dr. Redmond, this one comes to you from Alan. And I think this is a great question. Not everyone has Dr. Katie Woodley in their pocket. Be like, Dr. Katie.
She's like, don't do that. Don't.
In the results, when they get the results, he's living in an area that unfortunately there's no integrative vet. Is there, what kind of direction, if there is something off?
Right. We have, we have an interpretive guide now for dogs. And so hopefully, by the time you get the results back, our cat one will be out. But then there are a lot of vets, I think Dr. Katie does, do online. So you can do that kind of thing. And I think a lot of times it's just like functional medicine. If you want somebody to really understand and follow you, you want somebody who understands these tests. Even though calprotectin has, good research, not every vet is going to know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, and you can always do a lot of research on your own too. There's, there's lots of good research out there on on what to do for
A
certain.
lot of amazing resources. I think we've been so grateful to find you, Dr. Redmond, and all the work that you're doing on behalf of all pets. We're super excited that today launches gut testing for our cats. That just gives us little butterflies, and I think hopefully this has done help people understand just how important it is that we can really help navigate our cat's health so much better with this kind of information.
Yep. So everybody go get your test. Link is in the description. Go get your test. Use the coupon code CATSLIVE40. It's here on the screen, CATSLIVE40, to take 40% off. And let us know what kind of results you get. Let us know if let us know if you have questions or if you have an issue setting up your cat stuff. We've already done it, so you can reach out to us and we'll tell you what we did. But thank you guys so much for joining us.
Dr. Redmond, where can they find you guys? The website and
innovativepetlab.com. So
that's the spot.
Yeah. And you guys are also on Instagram and Facebook, and follow them on social media.
A little bit on Twitter, but
stay off of Twitter, but I'm joking. But you guys also offer great information on your social media pages. So it's a great way to get extra information.
A wonderful
about
resource.
Your kitties. Yeah.
As is Dr. Katie Woodley, the natural pet doctor that you can find where?
At thenaturalpetdoctor.com and The Natural Pet Doctor on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And also I've done some amazing interviews too with Dr. Redmond. So make sure you check those out on all our platforms, especially YouTube, so you can learn more about those different tests that we just talked about today. So we went a bit more in depth on each individual test also to help guide you with some information.
That's great. So it's The Natural Pet Doctor at YouTube, probably the easiest way to find that.
Yeah, you can just search Dr. Katie Woodley, the Natural Pet Doctor. It'll come up, and then you can see like leaky gut and testing. If you have any issues finding that, just send us a message or send us an email at info@thenaturalpetdoctor.com. We can always send you that link.
Awesome. Dr. Redmond, Dr. Katie, thank you both so much. This has been an honor. This has been a real meeting, and it is certainly empowering. Thank you guys both so much for being with us.
Yes, and you guys have a very happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And to everyone.
Yes.
Yes. Mwah. We love you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us. See you soon.